masks and ordered to rehearse chemical weapons drills. Although Houthi status of its own chemical weapons program remained uncertain, South Africa also deceptively bombarded Cuban and Angolan units with colored smoke in an attempt to induce hysteria or mass panic. 121, according to Defense Minister Magnus Malan. This would force the Cubans to share the inconvenience of having to take preventative measures such as donning NBC suits, which would cut combat effectiveness in half. The tactic was effective. Beginning in early 1988, Cuban units posted to Angola were issued with full protective gear in anticipation of a South African chemical strike. 121. On the 29th of October, 1988, personnel attached to Angola's 59 Brigade, accompanied by 6 Soviet military advisors, reported being struck with chemical weapons on the banks of the Miami River. 123. The attack occurred shortly after 1 in the afternoon. 4 Angolan soldiers lost consciousness while the others complained of violent headaches and nausea. That November, the Angolan representative to the UN accused South Africa of employing poison gas near Cuito Cuanavale for the first time. 123. Falklands War. Technically, the reported employment of tear gas by Argentine forces during the 1982 invasion of the Falkland Islands constitutes chemical warfare. 124. However, the tear gas grenades were employed as non-lethal weapons to avoid British casualties. The barrack buildings the weapons were used on proved to deserted in any case. The British claim that more lethal, but legally justifiable as they are not considered chemical weapons under the Chemical Weapons Convention, white phosphorus grenades were used. 125. Afghanistan. There were reports of chemical weapons being used by Soviet forces during the Soviet-Afghan War, sometimes against civilians. 126. 127. Vietnamese border raids in Thailand. There is some evidence suggesting that Vietnamese troops used phosgene gas against Cambodian resistance forces in Thailand during the 1984-1985 dry season offensive on the Thai-Cambodian border. 128, 129, 130, Iran-Iraq War. Victims of the 1987 chemical attack in Sardasht, West Azerbaijan, Iran. Chemical weapons employed by Saddam Hussein killed and injured numerous Iranians and Iraqi Kurds. According to Iraqi documents, assistance in developing chemical weapons was obtained from firms in many countries, including the United States, West Germany, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, and France. 131. About 100,000 Iranian soldiers were victims of Iraq's chemical attacks. Many were hit by mustard gas. The official estimate does not include the civilian population contaminated in bordering towns or the children and relatives of veterans, many of whom have developed blood, lung and skin complications, according to the Organization for Veterans. Nerve gas agents killed about 20,000 Iranian soldiers immediately, according to official reports. Of the 80,000 survivors, some 5,000 seek medical treatment regularly and about 1,000 are still hospitalized with severe, chronic conditions. 132, 133, 134. According to the foreign policy, the Iraqis used mustard gas and sarin prior to 4 major offensives in early 1988 that relied on U.S. satellite imagery, maps, and other intelligence. According to recently declassified CIA documents and interviews with former intelligence officials like Frankiner, the U.S. had firm evidence of Iraqi chemical attacks beginning in 1983. 135, 136, Halabja. In March 1988, The Iraqi Kurdish town of Halabja was exposed to multiple chemical agents dropped from warplanes. These may have included mustard gas, the nerve agents sarin, taban and VX, and possibly cyanide. 137. Between 3,200 and 5,000 people were killed, and between 7,000 and 10,000 were injured. 137. Some reports indicated that 3/4 of them were women and children. 137. The preponderance of the evidence indicates that Iraq was responsible for the attack. 137. Persian Gulf War. The U.S. Department of Defense and Central Intelligence Agency's long-standing official position is that Iraqi forces under Saddam Hussein did not use chemical weapons during the Persian Gulf War in 1991. In a memorandum in 1994 to veterans of the war, Defense Secretary William J. Perry and General John M. Shalikashvili, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, wrote that there is no evidence, classified or unclassified, that indicates that chemical or biological weapons were used in the Persian Gulf. 138. However, chemical weapons expert Jonathan B. Tucker, writing in the Non-Proliferation Review in 1997, determined that although the absence of severe chemical injuries or fatalities among coalition forces makes it clear that no large-scale Iraqi employment of chemical weapons occurred, an array of circumstantial evidence from a variety of sources suggests that Iraq deployed chemical weapons into the Kuwait Theater of Operations, KTO, the area including Kuwait and Iraq south of the 31st parallel, where Eve ground war was fought and engaged in sporadic chemical warfare against coalition forces. 138. In addition to intercepts of Iraqi military communications and publicly available reporting, other sources of evidence for sporadic Iraqi chemical warfare include U.S. intelligence reports and the presence of Iraqi chemical weapons in the KTO, military log entries describing the discovery by U.S. units of chemical munitions in Iraqi bunkers during and after the ground war, incidents in which troops reported acute symptoms of toxic chemical exposure, and credible detections of chemical warfare. Agents by Czech, French, and American forces. 138. Nerve agents, specifically taban, sarin, and cyclosarin, and blister agents, specifically sulfur mustard and alwizit, were detected at Iraqi sites. 138. The threat itself of gas warfare had a major effect on Israel, which was not part of the coalition forces led by the U.S. Israel was attacked with 39 Scud missiles, most of which were knocked down in the air above their targets by Patriot missiles developed by Raytheon together with Israel, and supplied by the U.S. Sirens warned of the attacks approximately 10 minutes before their expected arrival, and Israelis donned gas masks and entered sealed safe rooms, over a period 5 weeks. Babies were issued special gas-safe cribs. Armed religious men were issued gas masks that allowed them to preserve their beards. 139, 140, 141. In 2014, tapes from Saddam Hussein's archives revealed that Saddam had given orders to use gas against Israel as a last resort if his military communications with the army were cut off. 142. In 2015, the New York Times published an article about the declassified report of Operation.
Yes, need a break. I have the late Danish evening news in 10 minutes, and I have to cook food. So I will do this video. I just lay in my bed reading on the stuff on Wikipedia. I'll not start to talk a lot about what I'm reading, because I'm very sleepy always. So I need to make have some food I need to make today. If not, it will have to put the garbage. I would like to do that. I have some potatoes. But I'll do that on my Danish video. I have some potatoes there and some meatballs. So let's do that. Drink a little cola. But I can do that on my Danish video because I have to watch the news in a few minutes. In 10 minutes.